The book I decided to read was The World Without Us by Alan Wiseman, published July 10th, 2007 by St. Martin's Thomas Dunne Books. In this book, Wiseman asked the question, what would happen to Earth if all the humans disappeared? He starts with Europe and mentions how Europe used to be abundant with forests before humans came, and then because of deforestation and habitat fragmentation, it's not even recognizable to what it was beforehand. He talks about our homes will be gone by 100 years, and by 500 years indistinguishable from anything else once the cheap materials we make them with all collapse. New York City will eventually be gone. Every skyscraper, once thought unimaginable to fall, will fall. Subways will be flooded, streets will crack open, and water will run through like a river. He talks a lot about the past, how humans came from primates, and once we're gone, they might flourish as well as other megafauna. He talks about how in North America, megafauna went extinct because humans came. Now, whether it's from humans or climate or disease, it's all possible. There's no conclusion to be made. However, there is a correlation between humans arriving in North America and them going extinct, and the megafauna in Africa surviving, possibly because they had more time to adapt to the humans, as humans were born in Africa, the birthplace of humans. So they were more used to those diseases, if it's possible, or the hunting, and have more time to adapt. So when we're gone, megafauna might double in population, as though we know nothing, we won't be there holding them back. Or they might go extinct completely because of all the factors that we're just not sure about. He talks about examples of what might happen with abandoned cities. The example he uses is for Russia. All the cheap materials they used for hotels and stuff were like instantly collapsed once a pretty good city, and it's now just a wasteland of plants overtaking buildings and all of that. What will last are buildings such as the Hagia Sophia or other great structures that made with great materials, so they'll last a little longer, but eventually everything will fall. Underground caverns in Turkey will last, as they're also not made with the type of materials houses are. The main thing that I think is pretty consistent throughout the book is Wiseman's dialect about plastic. Plastic will never biodegrade. We are producing tons of it, and it will always be there. Now, while plastic might break down and become smaller over time, even to the point of particles, those particles will still be eaten up by plankton, which will in turn be eaten up by fish and then by birds, and every animal in turn will be harmed by these plastics and the chemicals in them. They'll always be there, they'll never biodegrade, and even some materials like paper that we think will biodegrade won't unless they're in contact with water. That's why papyrus in Egypt is able to stay so long, because they're dry in pyramids. Tires, rubber, another material that won't ever biodegrade necessarily. They'll probably be home to mosquitoes, even though we're pretty narcissistic and thinking that mosquitoes probably care about us more than any other species. That's just not the case. They'll still do well for themselves after we're gone, in fact, because there won't be pesticides, there won't be GMOs in plants and all that, and we won't be trying to kill the mosquitoes. They'll be able to live and feed amongst all the different species without us there. What animals actually might suffer would be farm animals, as we won't be there to protect them from any predators like coyotes, wolves, or anything else. So when we're gone, there'll be free meat for any of those predators. In fact, those predators will probably increase in population right after we're gone, as they'll have all these resources immediately. But once these farm animals go extinct, their population might decline. Wonders of the world will mostly be gone. Nothing that human-made will really be around after a few million years. And the only thing that would be things like Mount Rushmore, which is just rock. And even eventually it will become so deformed and unrecognizable. What's interesting and what's reflective of what might happen when we're gone is areas where humans don't populate. And a great example of this is the DMZ, which is the 38th parallel in the Koreas that no one lives on, as it is the border between North and South Korea. Now, there is a lot of wildlife there, animals people think are extinct, as well as many other interesting things And the reason why they're there are because humans aren't there to scare them away. There's no interfering, and they're able to live there peacefully. Now, many might say that war is bad for animals because, in fact, Wiseman explains how war could be bad because um, while forests might be under protection at some points during war, nothing is off limits, and resources are used that shouldn't be used. It talks about how birds will do well. Birds are killed, millions of birds are killed a year from power lines and windows, and once homes are gone, windows will be gone, and power lines would no longer have energy through it, birds will succeed. However, cats will also do very well, and cats kill millions of birds a year, and they will be able to kill these birds. Nuclear reactors are just disasters waiting to happen with no one manning them, as well are oil refineries. In fact, in the Gulf of Mexico, fires might be going on for years because there'll be no one to put them out, and the oil will continuously pump up. In conclusion, he makes the point that some animals won't notice we're gone, others will prosper, and some need us. In fact, there are bacteria made specifically for our biology that will not be able to survive once we're gone. Like and then he talks about the sea. Corals corals will be back to the way they were, or at least we'll have a new cycle as they had to after an ice age or something like that, and they will be better without us bleaching and dynamite in the water, and as well as harming the corals in the ocean anyway. The ocean will for the most part be better. The plastic will always be there. My main takeaways from this book, what probably hit me hardest was New York City. I live in a suburb of New York for the most part, and I go to New York City at least once a month. So imagining the place where I go all the time, just completely destroyed once we're gone by nature, it really puts into perspective the power that nature has, and therefore the amount that we're restraining it in a way. Without us, plants would overtake the buildings and all that, and that's just unimaginable to me. Another thing I found interesting was looking back to what my chemistry teacher said in about 9th grade. He said, give water enough time and it will dissolve anything. And what Wiseman's saying is basically that. Water will eventually destroy every structure we've had. It will corrode it, it will erode it, and the only thing that's really not doing that to is plastic, which makes plastic stand out even more to me. Plastic is something that, if I were a politician, I put policy in right now. I mean, I've seen plastic bag bans go in effect, and while I always understood that it was a problem, the extent of which was something that was never put into context for me. And I believe that in a million years, if humans were to come back after disappearing, it would be only then that they can understand, for the most part, the danger that we're doing with this plastic. It also amazes me that that some animals need us. Like what we're doing with domesticated animals, such as cows, chickens, and dogs, may be considered unnatural, and that once we're gone, that they won't be here. Like there will be nothing to protect them. In conclusion, my analysis is that the earth is such that we need to work with the earth rather than just live our life and hope for the best. We can't keep producing ozone destroying gases and greenhouse gases and using all these resources. However, we also can't just stop immediately. There needs to be some sort of intermediary period, and hopefully we're on track for that. But the thought really scares me, and for the world to be at its best, humans need to work with it, because if humans were to disappear, the fires from the oil refineries and the extinction of a lot of different species wouldn't necessarily be the best for the planet, and therefore we need to work with the earth to make sure it's the best possible.